If you or someone you love still gets a Social Security payment, a tax refund, or a VA benefit as a paper check in the mail, I need the next 90 seconds of your full attention, because that check, the one that has landed in the same mailbox on roughly the same day for 20, 30, 40 years, is being shut off, not delayed, not reduced, shut off. The federal government has already stopped mailing most of these checks, and the small numbers still going out are on their way out too. Now, I want to be careful with you from the very first sentence, because there is a lot of noise online about this. You may have seen a video or a post claiming the IRS just set a new limit on how much money you're allowed to keep in your checking account. Let me say this plainly. That is not true. The IRS does not set a limit on your bank balance, and there is no secret cap coming for your account. I'll show you later exactly where that rumor came from and why the scary number attached to it was actually canceled. What I'm talking about is real, it is already in motion, and it comes straight from a federal order and the U.S. Department of the Treasury. And if the right step isn't taken, a payment someone in your family counts on every single month can simply stop showing up. That is what this video is. Let me be precise about what just happened, because this is the kind of change that moves quietly through the system and only becomes a crisis for the people who didn't hear about it in time. The government is not cutting your benefit. Your Social Security is not going away. What changed is the delivery, the way the money physically reaches you. For your entire life, you had a choice: a check in the mail or a deposit in the bank. That choice is now gone. Electronic payment is the rule. And here's the trap hiding in that sentence. Being told the check is ending and actually having your money land somewhere safe are two completely different things. The government is not going to keep calling until you fix it. If your payment has nowhere electronic to go, it doesn't wait politely. It can stall, bounce, or leave you standing at an empty mailbox on the first of the month wondering where your money is. And stay with me all the way to the end, because I've saved the single most dangerous part of this whole change for the final few minutes. It is not the rule itself. It is the wave of criminals using this exact transition as cover calling and texting seniors, pretending to be Social Security, asking them to verify their bank account before the check stops. I'm going to show you precisely how that scam works, and the one thing that tells you instantly it's fake, so that in trying to protect your payment, you don't hand it straight to a thief. Before you decide this doesn't apply to you, let me stop you. Some of you are already thinking, I set up direct deposit years ago, this isn't my problem. It is, and I'll tell you why in a moment, because the scam I just mentioned is aimed squarely at you. Some of you are thinking, I've never trusted banks and I'm not about to start. That's all right. There is a second option that isn't a traditional bank account at all, and I'll walk you through it. And some of you are watching this for a parent who lives far away or who still refuses to give up the paper check they've trusted their whole life. This video is really for them, through you, so don't click away yet. My name is Nolan Carter. I track exactly this kind of thing, the rules and quiet policy changes buried inside government systems that decide whether the money that is legally yours actually reaches your hands. I am not selling anything today. I simply believe that if the government is going to change how it pays you after 50 years, you deserve to hear it in plain language, from someone with nothing to sell you before it turns into a missed payment. If this is the kind of information you want reaching you before it costs you something instead of after, take 1 second and subscribe. This channel covers exactly this: the benefits, the deadlines, and the rule changes that federal agencies rarely explain clearly until the window to act has already closed. Now let's start with what actually changed and exactly who it hits. Here is the plain English version. In March of 2025, an executive order was signed with a title that tells you everything about where this is headed: modernizing payments to and from America's bank account. The order number is 14247, and you can look it up yourself, because I'll always give you the real names and numbers so you can verify every word I say. What that order set in motion was simple and sweeping. The federal government would stop mailing paper checks for almost all of its payments. The Treasury Department set the switch-off date for the 30th of September 2025. From that point on, the government stopped issuing paper checks for most federal payments and began moving the last holdouts onto electronic methods. That work has carried straight into 2026, and it's being finished this year. Even as I'm talking to you, the Social Security Administration is still reaching out to the people who kept getting a check in the mail, one by one, telling them the same thing I'm telling you now. The check is ending, and you need somewhere electronic for your money to go. And this does not touch Social Security alone. Listen to the list slowly, because most people don't realize how wide it reaches. It covers Social Security retirement benefits. It covers Supplemental Security Income SSI. It covers veterans benefits. It covers federal tax refunds from the IRS. It covers vendor and contractor payments and most other money the federal government sends out. If an envelope with a government seal has been arriving in your mailbox, assume this change is pointed directly at it. Now, why would they do this? Why force the change on people who are perfectly content with the check they've always received? The government gives two reasons, and honestly, both hold up. The first is theft. A paper check sitting in a mailbox or moving through the mail is a target. The government's own figures say a paper check is roughly 16 times more likely to be lost, stolen, altered, or returned than an electronic payment. 16 times. To a thief, that envelope on the first of the month is a known, predictable prize, and mail theft of benefit checks has been a real and growing problem. The second reason is cost. Printing and mailing a paper check costs the government several times what an electronic transfer costs, multiplied across millions of payments every month. Put those two together, and the paper check was already living on borrowed time. Here's the part I don't want you to breeze past, because it's exactly where people get a false sense of safety. If you already receive your Social Security or your refund by direct deposit into a bank account, then on the surface, nothing about your payment changes. Same amount, same schedule, same account. Genuinely, for the mechanics of the deposit, you are already on the right side of this. And stay with me, because this is the hinge the whole video turns on. Being on direct deposit does not make you safe from what this change set loose. In one way, it makes you a target for it. The moment every senior in the country was told your payment method is changing, act now, it handed every scammer in the country a ready-made script. And that is exactly what we're building toward. So here is what you actually do about it. And there are exactly two paths. Both are free. Both take less than 15 minutes. The first path, and the one most people should take, is direct deposit. You give Social Security a checking or savings account number, and every payment lands there automatically on the same date every month. No mail, no delay, no check sitting in a box where someone else can reach it first. If you already have a bank account and you just never switched, here is exactly how to do it. Go to ssa.gov, log into your My Social Security account, and update your payment method to direct deposit. If you're not comfortable online, call Social Security directly at 1-800-772-1213 and tell them you want to switch your payment to direct deposit. Have your bank's routing number and your account number in front of you. Both are printed on any check from that account. Or you can call your bank and ask them to read the numbers to you over the phone. That is the entire process. One call, one set of numbers. Done. The second path exists specifically for people who do not have a bank account and do not want one. It is called the Direct Express card. This is a prepaid debit card issued by the U.S. Treasury, not by a private company, not by a bank trying to sell you something. The government created it for exactly this situation. Your benefit deposits onto the card automatically each month. You use it the way you'd use any debit card at a grocery store, at an ATM, at a pharmacy. You do not need a bank account to get it. You do not need a credit check. You sign up by calling 1-800-333-1795 or by visiting the U.S. Treasury's Direct Express website. They mail you the card, you activate it, and from that point forward, your payment arrives on it electronically every month. One thing worth knowing about Direct Express before you choose it: the card works well and millions of people use it. But it does carry some fees. Certain ATM withdrawals and certain transactions can have small charges attached. Before you sign up, ask the representative to walk you through the fee schedule so you know exactly what costs something and what doesn't. For most people, the fees are small and predictable, but I'd rather you hear about them now from me than discover them later on a statement. Now here is the action step, and I want it to be specific enough that you can do it today. If you or someone in your family is still receiving any federal payment by paper check, pick up the phone today, not this week, today, and make one of these two calls. If you have a bank account, call Social Security at 1-800-772-1213 and switch to direct deposit. If you don't have a bank account and don't want one, call Direct Express at 1-800-333-1795 and get the card on its way to you. Either call takes less than 15 minutes. Either one permanently solves this problem before it becomes a mispayment. And if you cannot do either, if you genuinely have no access to banking, no way to use a card, and no one nearby who can help you set one up, there is a third door. It is a hardship waiver issued by the U.S. Treasury for people with a documented mental impairment or people living in remote areas without banking infrastructure. You apply by calling the Treasury at 1-877-874-6347. This is a narrow exception, not a permanent fix, for everyone who simply prefers the old way. But if it genuinely applies to you, the waiver exists, and you deserve to know about it. That covers the how. Now let me deal with the lie, the one floating around the internet right now, scaring seniors into thinking the IRS just capped how much money they're allowed to keep in their own checking account. Here is where I need to clean up something that has been making its way around the internet, because it is scaring people into bad decisions, and the fear it creates is exactly what scammers are using to steal money. You may have seen a headline, maybe even a video from a channel like this one, claiming that the IRS quietly set a new limit on how much money you are allowed to keep in your checking account. Some versions say the limit is $10,000. Some say the government will freeze your account or penalize you if you go over it. I want to be direct with you. None of that is true. The IRS does not set a cap on your checking account balance. There is no rule, old or new, that says a senior or anyone can only hold a certain dollar amount in the bank. That claim is completely made up. Now, here is where the confusion likely started, because there is a real rule in this neighborhood, and when you twist it just enough, it sounds like what they're describing. Banks are required to file a report called a currency transaction report when a customer deposits or withdraws more than $10,000 in cash in a single day. That is not a limit, it is a report. The bank files it, the government receives it, and nothing happens to your money. Your account is not flagged, you are not penalized, you are not investigated simply for moving your own cash. This reporting rule has existed since 1970. It was written to help detect money laundering, not to monitor retirees. And yet, every few months, someone repackages it as a brand new IRS crackdown on seniors, because that version gets more clicks. There is a second myth riding alongside this one, and it involves a number you may have heard, $600. For a while, the IRS planned to lower the reporting threshold for payment apps like PayPal and Venmo, so that anyone receiving more than $600 in a year through those apps would get a tax form called a 1099K. That scared a lot of people. But here's what most of those scary videos never came back to tell you. That rule was rolled back. In July of 2025, Congress passed the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, and one of the things it did was permanently cancel that $600 threshold. The reporting rule went back to where it has been for years, $20,000 and more than 200 transactions. The $600 rule is dead. It is not coming in 2026. It is not coming at all. So why am I spending time on myths in a video about paper checks? Because these two things are connected in a way that is genuinely dangerous. Here is how. A senior sees a video claiming the IRS capped their bank account. They panic. They start thinking maybe they shouldn't put their Social Security money in a bank at all. And at exactly that moment, the government is telling them they must move to electronic payments or lose their check. Now you have a frightened person, distrustful of banks, being pushed toward a banking system they just heard is dangerous, and right on cue, their phone rings. A calm voice says, "This is Social Security. We need to verify your bank information before your payment is interrupted." That is not Social Security. That is a thief. And the myth is the setup. The fear creates the opening, and the scammer walks right through it. Which brings us to the part of this video I told you at the very beginning to stay for, because this is the piece that actually protects you. Here is what is actually happening right now in 2026 to real people because of this transition. The moment the government announced that paper checks were ending and every senior needed to have their banking information on file, it handed criminals the most convincing script they have ever had, and they are using it aggressively. Here's how the call goes. Your phone rings. The caller ID might say Social Security Administration. It might say U.S. government. It might show a Washington, D.C. area code. The voice on the other end is calm, professional, and sounds exactly like someone from a government office. They tell you they are calling because your Social Security payment is at risk of being interrupted due to the transition to electronic payments. They say they need to verify your bank account number, your routing number, or your Direct Express card information to make sure your next deposit goes through. Some versions ask you to confirm your Social Security number. Some versions tell you there is a problem with your current account and you need to provide a new one immediately. Some versions say you will be charged a fee or face a penalty if you don't act on the call right now. Every single version is fake. Here is the one fact that kills every one of these calls instantly, and I want you to memorize it the way you'd memorize a phone number. The Social Security Administration will never call you and ask for your bank account information over the phone. Never. Not during this transition, not before it, not after it. They will not call you and ask you to verify your Social Security number. They will not call and tell you there is a fee. They will not call and say your payment will stop unless you give them information right now. If someone calls you and does any of those things, that is not Social Security. That is a thief. Hang up. The same rule applies to text messages and emails. If you receive a text saying your Social Security deposit has been paused, click here to update your bank details, do not click it. Delete it. If you get an email with a link that says it goes to ssa.gov, do not click the link inside the email. Open your own browser, type ssa.gov yourself, and log in from there. The real SSA website will never ask you to update payment information through a link sent in a text or an email. Now here is the part that matters for the people in this audience who already have direct deposit and thought this whole video didn't apply to them. You are the target of a different version of this scam. Your version sounds like this. We show your current direct deposit is set up, but there's been a security issue with your bank routing number during the federal transition. We need you to confirm the number on file or your next deposit may be redirected. That call is designed specifically for people who feel safe because they're already on electronic payments. The safety is real, but the feeling of safety is what the scammer exploits. Same rule applies. Hang up, call Social Security yourself at 1-800-772-1213 if you want to verify anything about your account. Never use a number the caller gives you. Never use a link someone texts you. Always go to the source yourself. If you have an elderly parent who lives alone or a neighbor who has mentioned getting strange calls about Social Security, send them this video right now, not after it ends, right now, because this is the part they need to hear most. Now, let me bring everything in this video together into exactly what to do this week. Work through these in order. Do not let any of them sit. First, find out right now whether you or anyone in your household is still receiving any federal payment by paper check. Social Security, SSI, VA benefits, tax refunds, any of them. If you are not sure, log into your My Social Security account at ssa.gov or call Social Security at 1-800-772-1213 and ask them directly how your payment is currently being delivered. Get a clear answer before you do anything else on this list. Second, if you are still on paper, make one of two calls today. If you have a bank account, call Social Security at that same number and switch to direct deposit. Have your routing number and account number ready. If you do not have a bank account and do not want one, call Direct Express at 1-800-333-1795 and get the prepaid debit card on its way to you. Either call takes less than 15 minutes. Either one permanently fixes this. Third, if you genuinely cannot use a bank account or a card due to a documented impairment or because you live in an area without banking access, call the U.S. Treasury's waiver line at 1-877-874-6347 and ask to file a hardship exemption. That option is narrow, but it exists, and it is there specifically so no one falls through the gap. Fourth, ignore any video, post, or message claiming the IRS set a limit on your checking account balance. That is not real. The $10,000 number is a reporting rule from 1,970, not a cap on your money. The $600 payment app scare was canceled by Congress in 2025. Neither one affects your bank balance or your Social Security deposit in any way. Fifth, and this is the one I want you to carry with you permanently. If anyone calls, texts, or emails you claiming to be Social Security and asks you to verify your bank information, your routing number, your Social Security number, or asks you to click a link or pay a fee, hang up. That is not Social Security. That is a thief using this transition as a costume. If you ever need to verify something about your account, call Social Security yourself at 1-800-772-1213 or go directly to ssa.gov in your own browser. Never use a number or a link that someone else gives you. One honest note before we close. Everything in this video is general education, not personal legal or financial advice. The rules around federal payment methods, waivers, and reporting requirements can vary by individual circumstance. Always confirm your specific situation directly with the Social Security Administration or the U.S. Treasury before making decisions based on anything covered here. Now here is what I want you to do with this. Think of one person, not a general share, one specific person, a parent who still waits for the mailman on the first of the month, a neighbor who mentioned a strange call about Social Security, a widow who has been handling everything on her own since her husband passed and may not have heard that this change is coming for her. Send them this video. That paper check has been the most reliable thing in their life for decades, and it is being taken away without anyone sitting them down and explaining what to do next. You can be the person who does that. The seniors who are protected right now are not luckier than the ones who are not. They are not more connected, and they are not better with technology. They simply heard about this in time and made one phone call. That is the entire difference. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so the next update finds you before it costs you anything. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one.